All good? I don't know.
Es läuft noch. Jetzt. Okay.
Sebastian has everything under control.
Can you try yours? Test. Yep.
We'll just pass it over later. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. We are at the boat show again. It's the second morning, and this is our family-style daily warm-up. We had a great day yesterday. Thanks a lot for all the questions you posted under the videos. I don't know if you've seen it, but Alex Mustard's been answering everything, individually. So keep doing that. Keep challenging our guests with the questions later on. You can do that with everyone. And before we talk a little bit about the up-to-date gossip that is going on, I'd like to show you who is coming on stage today. At 11:15, we have Julie Gauthier here. And after that, we go a little bit deeper into the details about the behind the scenes things about Laurent's 700 Sharks into the Dark project. We talk a little bit about the technical things, and we also get to ask a few of your community questions. And then later on, we're very much looking forward to that, because at 3:30, Greg Lecoeur will be here, and we will premiere our Sardine Run film. And we had a great time yesterday. I don't know if you tuned in yesterday. You can still see all the live streams on our Facebook and YouTube page. And I really enjoyed the program yesterday. Naomi, you've been sitting there drawing things and following everything on the side. What was your favorite thing yesterday?
My favorite? I feel as though I was deeply moved by Casey Astrup's film. I don't know what the name of that film was. Do you remember?
I think Rising Water?
Rising Water. It was absolutely incredible art, and that's just in my mind, and I want to keep making art about that one. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And also, I think that's a good opportunity to do like our daily artwork update, because
Our
Naomi
daily artwork.
is painting over here. So if you come by, you can also see the progress and the things hanging on the wall. What is the concept behind it?
The concept? Before I left Australia, I kind of made some background so that we could have continuity flow between all of the portraits. I'm just working from the little catalogue, and then when everyone's on stage, trying to get a feel for them as well and bringing it to life. So I've finished yesterday's 2 portraits. The first one, Casey Astrup, I think we showed this a little bit
Yeah, let me show that.
It's the best one. So the hope is at the end of this week we're going to have a whole series on the wall just over here. So if you're at the show, you can come and see them. There's so much more detail if you're close up. And then Laurent
Ballesta?
Ballesta, thank you. This is his portrait, and from 700 Sharks, his film, which was also incredible, and that was my take on that yesterday. So I only have probably a few hours to work on each of them. So I'm just about to start the next one, which will be Greg
Lecoeur?
Lecoeur. I'm so bad at
You can call him Greg. He's part of the family, so no problem.
Yeah. So
Okay, and what are we going to do with it?
What will we do? I think we're still deciding, aren't we?
Yeah, we're still deciding. And we don't just want to give it away or something. I think we collect everything on the wall, and then
I think we collected and build on it, and I made some art for you in Komodo when I went to Komodo recently, and I made another one about behind the mask, and so we're building this really nice little library. So for me, it's just nice seeing them all come together and telling a story.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. And everybody can see you working live on it.
Yes.
So if everybody, come by and
Come
have
and
a
talk
look.
to me.
Okay, great. So if you guys followed us before, you know that we have put out 7 different videos to different topics, and the topics Vanessa will tell you in a second. Which are the topics?
The topics
The topics
of the videos.
of the videos.
Drone, wide angle, free diving, macro, beginner, compact camera, and I'm missing one.
Cold water.
Cold water.
Cold water.
Cold water.
Oh,
Yeah.
great. And on each of the videos, if you leave a question there, we have to come to the questions in a second because that got a little bit out of hand. But if you leave a question there, you automatically have a chance to win super cool prizes. And we have to say that we will not be able to answer all the questions here live on stage. That's not possible. I don't know, Sonja? Where's Sonja? How many questions do we have so far? 1,800 questions. And we catalog them all, and by we, I mean Sonja. And we, assign them to different categories, and we will then, after the show, see which of the questions we didn't answer, and then we're gonna answer them. Or you can also get your answers if you follow the live stream and ask there, and then the guest will do their best to answer. And we have pretty cool prizes. We've been going around to all the friends and brands and asking if they want to participate. And today we have a guest from, and I would like to ask him how we actually pronounce the company's name. Somebody told me it's Hugyfot. When you talk to them on the phone, it's Hugyfot. 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 Okay, so Sven is here, and he can tell us a little bit. Have a seat. About what we actually can give away. Vanessa, if you take over from that part, because you've been digging in all the details as well, I think you can ask the more clever questions to Sven about it.
Sure. So, what do we see today? What are we giving away?
So we're giving away the 5-inch Vision XS monitor, Hugyfot, of course.
And that's the monitor with the housing?
So it's the housing, including the monitor, including the cabling and the bulkhead. So you can connect it to nearly any camera housing.
And can you take the monitor out of the housing?
It's possible, but it's not really meant to do it. But
Okay,
it's
but it is possible.
It is
So you can use it above water as well.
Yes.
Okay. And you mentioned something really interesting yesterday, that you can attach this monitor to not only the Hugyfot or
Hugyfot.
Hugyfot,
Yes,
Hugyfot housing, so you can also mount it to other brands.
So we have, at this time, we have M15 by 1.5 bulkhead for the Hugyfot housings, but we also have a more standard M16 by 1. And I think a lot of camera housings have this kind of porthole. The camera needs, of course, to have an HDMI output. It's an HDMI monitor.
Mini HDMI.
Yes.
Okay. And what happens if the bulkhead, if you need it for something else? There was another cool feature. I don't know if you can see it in the camera somewhere.
We replicated the bulkhead. So if you need it for something else on your camera housing, then you can still attach the HDMI cable there, and we have duplicated the M16 by 1 on the housing.
So you can put the vacuum seal
yes,
on the side.
If you have a vacuum system that is connected to your port M16 by 1, then you can put it on the monitor.
Okay.
So the housing and the monitor are connected by this tube. So the vacuum system is for the whole setup. So there is one setup that monitors the whole setup.
So if your housing has a vacuum system,
Yes.
then automatically the monitor will also be
Vacuumed.
will also be
vacuumed at
surveyed.
the same time. Oh, that's clever. Okay, cool.
And is it full HD?
It's a full HD monitor. It accepts up to 4K cinema.
Okay. And what are like the cool features about it's the Field World monitor
It's
inside?
a Field World F5 monitor
Okay.
with professional features like histogram, peaking, false color. You have everything, grids, all professional features you can program on the monitor in permanent display or on function too.
Okay.
Can you put LUTs on it?
Excuse me?
Lookup tables? Did you check that, Vanessa?
No, I didn't.
Not sure
check
if you can do that?
I
That
Okay.
we have to check.
What is the perfect photographer or videographer for that monitor?
Well, certainly for video. It's a fantastic tool if you shoot video, because there you have a good wide screen to see what you're doing. But also for photography, I personally find it very useful for macro photography. I shoot through the viewfinder, and afterwards I verify if the images are well done. It's also for competition photographers who want to edit pictures while they're still underwater. Nowadays, cameras offer these features. So if you have done the monitor, then you can.
Oh wow!
You have a useful tool there.
Okay, cool. Where is your booth? When somebody's here at the show, where can they find you?
We are G32 in this hall. It's hall.
Hall 11.
11. Yes.
G32.
32.
Okay. And how is the show going so far? What is the thing that you have? Like, what is your highlight for the show that you have there?
We have the monitor, but we have also a new set of ports, aluminium ports. We have a new macro port, which is on this product here. So a lot of exciting things also for GoPros, a new housing coming for the Hero 8. So.
Okay. Thanks a lot, guys. Okay. Thanks a lot for giving that away. I think that will be of a lot of use to a lot of people. Thank you a lot for that. And
thank you for having me.
Yeah, and I hope you have a good day. It's going to be pretty busy. It's Sunday, so see you for the party after 6.
Thanks. Yeah.
Good.
I'll give it back to you.
Okay, so I think because this is more like in the beginning of the show, there is not a lot of people here, so we can basically, between all the big professionals that are on stage here, we can also slide in some question and answers that went directly to the Behind the Mask team. So we do that in the morning a little bit, together with Vanessa. So let's see about the questions, how we're gonna start. All right. So what do we have here, Vanessa?
What port and lens configurations are you using for videos? Is it also a good idea to shoot in log profiles for videos? And if so, what is your preference? And Sean Romanowski asked that question.
Okay, log profile. Everybody knows what a log profile is? How would you describe what a log profile is, just for anyone who doesn't know it?
Well, a log profile is basically an image profile that sets all of the settings down. So like contrast and sharpness and the hue and saturation, everything is brought down, so the image is very flat to get the most highest dynamic range out of the
Why would I do that? Because that image looks foggy and not nice, and when it comes out of the camera. Why would I do that?
You would do that to get the best out of the image, so you have the best options to color correct later on in post-production. And then you can really push the limits a bit more than if you film in a standard profile or in a cine profile or any other profile your camera has. So.
Okay, so now you're using a Panasonic GH5 Micro Four Third camera system, and this one has, like the GH5 has the ability to shoot in log. Do you do that?
I personally, I don't shoot in log. I just shoot in log if the production needs to it needs to be shooted in log, because for me, personally, I don't want to spend too much time on the color correction process. So I usually film in Cine V, I think it is. And then I bring down a bit of the contrast myself to bring it back up in post-production to tweak it. So that gives a fairly good output for me to work with. But if you really want to push the limits, then shooting in log is a very good idea. But you definitely need a monitor to shoot in log, because you have to use LUTs to actually see what you're doing. Otherwise, to set the focus is impossible in a flat profile.
Okay, a LUT is basically another
it's a preset for color correction.
Preset that you put on top of it, that you can see how it would look like once you edit it in a certain way. Okay, I had the same impression with the GH5. I used the Cine D. And I think what is always a good idea with these kind of things is that you put, you have like parameters for sharpness and contrast and saturation, and that you put them down a little bit, because then all of this you can edit in post much easier.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Next one. How do you get your underwater model or your buddy to pose for your epic underwater shots?
I think that's a question for you.
Well, as you know, everything is, when it's about diving and filming, everything seems to be super easy when you're above water. You talk about things, hey, we're going to do this, and then the turtle's going to do this, and we're going to do that, and then we shoot like this, and then once you're in the water, everything is different. There is no turtle, and you don't know anything, and your buddy is gone. So I think the most important thing is that you actually have a connection with your body or with your model, and that you just practice together is a very important thing, and that you kind of know each other well, and you also know the limits and what people can like. For example, if you're working with freedivers, that you know where their limit is, and that you respect the limit, and that you create kind of an environment around your underwater filming efforts where everybody feels comfortable in. I think that's the most important thing. And then I think it's about to review things together. We always do that. In the evening, we sit together and we review what we've been filming. And then everybody who's looking at it will have different ideas and different impressions about, oh, this looks nice, or that worked, and that didn't work, and na. So you can improve on like a daily basis, day by day, you can improve. And if you do that for a long time, like we do that, for example, with Dadali, then you don't have to talk, you don't have to think, you just like everything kind of flows. And to get to that point, then you're perfectly fine. But it's basically just a process. And yeah, and if it's your body, then I think what we always do is we always tell everyone, if you see that you're filmed as a diver, don't rush out of the frame, because that's what divers always do. They think like, you probably don't want to film me, so I'm disturbing anything. And by trying to get out of the photo, you are actually disturbing. Yep. But if someone films you, he probably want to film you. So basically just do whatever you normally do, and don't be nervous and things like that. Did I forget anything?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Billy Cloud asking, did you have to clean your dry suit after the first time filming orcas close-up? I love that question, because we actually never filmed orcas in a dry suit, but in a wetsuit. And peeing in a wetsuit is an option for some people, of course not for me. No. I mean, I think this question is more about if it is intimidating to see animals like orcas in the water, and the question is not at all. And this is a big part of the experience, to actually learn about that and really live through the feeling that, of course, you have a lot of things in your mind before. It's super cold, and they're like super big, and they have like an intimidating name, killer whale and things like that. But once you're in the water and you are open with your eyes and your mind, and you see what's going on, and you realize that you don't have to feel uncomfortable, then everything flows. And on the other hand, it doesn't matter what animal it is. If you go in the water and you feel that there's something off, and you don't feel well with it, and it doesn't have to be the reason that the animal is aggressive or anything, or maybe it's just yourself, then don't push anything. Just, everything should be in a natural flow, and there should be a connection to your surrounding. And if you have that connection, you can dive with anacondas and crocodiles and leopard seals, because then there is, a positive thing between the environment and yourself. And if you don't feel well, just go back and, find another time to do that. Very kind of esoteric, philosophical thing. I don't know. Okay. My question is about story making. Are you usually shooting to correspond to the story, or are you just shooting various shots, and then when editing, you build a story around the shots that you have?
Well, there are different approaches to that. I think it sort of depends on the style of film you're making. Like for me, when I'm doing more scientific filmmaking, for short documentaries, it's more or less scripted what needs to be shot. So I get into the water and know exactly what I want to shoot. And the marine biologists will have like the same procedure, and then I would just shoot all the shots that I need from the various angles. So then the editing is pretty simple, because I know exactly how it will go. If it's more creative film, well, you certainly have in mind what you need and what you want to shoot, especially the emotions you want to capture. So there is like a rough, for me, that's, you're going to say how you do it, but for me, I have sort of a rough idea what I want to have for the film, and then I will shoot it. But of course, you cannot say what's going to happen underwater and if the fish or the animal that you want to shoot is going to be there. So that's always a surprise. But in general, there's a rough idea, but it's for me it's never completely scripted out into the detail. It's more like a creative process going through the shoot, through the trip.
Yeah, I remember when I was at university studying about filmmaking, and I realized that to actually make a film, like like a short film or something, it's always a huge effort with a lot of people, takes a lot of time. I really didn't like that.
No.
So I thought documentary could be cooler, because then you can't complain about anything because it's just nature. And underwater you can't really force any wildlife to do anything. So I think the approach that we usually have is that we don't really think about what we actually shoot, but we try to have a setup with the right people, the right location, and the right time to get every aspect to get in kind of a process. It's basically like a sandbox. You throw everything in there, and then you start doing things, and then you have a process day by day, and then there's a lot of ideas, and things work and things don't work, and in the end, I think it's a very important thing to understand that if you limit yourself to the ideas that you have before you go somewhere, that you will end up with a lot of frustration, because things always change.
Yeah, and different people bring in different ideas as well, like you mentioned before, during the process. When you show them the clips and then they get ideas, we can do this like that and this like that. So it's a whole process.
And of course, the editing part, I think for me is actually the coolest part, because you have like a puzzle, you have a lot of pieces, and then you can add things like music and the narration and the style of editing, and sound effects and everything else, and then you can make something out of
nothing.
What you have. Nothing, but I mean, you have like a lot of things, and you just puzzle it together, and you can make, different emotions with just different styles of editing and stuff like that. So that's.
But you should, before you start a project like that, I think you should have a rough idea what you want to shoot. So like if you're doing an underwater trip, don't just film underwater. Have an idea that you want to capture things above water. If you have a drone shots, time lapses, whatever you can do, capture the most you can around the water, because otherwise it's going to be really difficult to sort of like tell the whole story if it's just underwater shots.
Totally agree. And there is always a lot of things when you're out there diving that you think are just normal and not very special, like all the routines on the boat and just the people that you see every day, and then you get home and then you feel like, oh, I remember that, and I didn't actually film it because it didn't seem to be important when I was there.
Yeah.
So it's always a good idea to like really try to get a little bit outside and look at everything a little bit from a distance and realize what it actually makes. What actually makes the emotions, and it can be very common things like just the routine on the boat or something like this.
Yeah.
Okay. How often should you use speed ramping as a tool to make your videos more dynamic? Depends. Does it depend more on the music or on the sequence? What do you think?
I think it depends on both, essentially, because if you don't have the scene to do speed ramping and the music gives you that hit or that sound effect and you want to have something speed ramp, you cannot just speed ramp anything. So it needs to be some kind of movement, like a manta ray flapping or a fish swimming away or whatever, or people doing a special movement. If you don't have that, then speed ramping doesn't make sense. And then again, you cannot speed ramp if the music doesn't provide the corresponding dynamic situation. So it's a mixture of both, I would say.
Yeah, I think with speed ramping, if you don't know what it is and you're not familiar with the term, speed ramping is basically just speeding up the video for a little bit and using that to get into another shot, or using it to just highlight the movement or whatever. I think you have to be very careful with this, because this is a technique that works only if there is a reason for it to be used. If you have like an amazing scene and you can't really show the whole scene, and it's a nice static movement of something, you can make it fit to the music. But it starts to look very awkward if there's like a lot of things moving
all the time,
very fast. Like if you have a manta ray passing by and it's only the manta ray and he moves in a very static way, then it can work. If you have like a lot of fish around it and you speed it up, then it looks like everything else is freaking out around it, and then it gets a little bit like, then it becomes super obvious, and it's not like in unity with the music and the edit and the flow. So I think a speed ramp is good if you don't necessarily recognize it
As a speed ramp.
heavily. Yeah. How did you guys learn to edit videos, and what do you use to edit? Trace is asking. How did you learn to edit videos? Oh?
Well, I studied film, but I was already filming before I studied film, and I don't think I learned that much during university in that particular. So it's more a personal
Self-taught.
passion, and then like YouTube.
Yeah.
No, at the time there was no YouTube, but yeah, it's like just a personal passion, and then it's like a hobby, and then you just do it every day, and then you get better and better at it. So I guess.
And you use Adobe Premiere Pro
Adobe Premiere Pro
on a PC
on a PC.
to do that.
And you?
Well, I don't know. I think when I was 16 or 17, I bought my first Sony Handycam.
Yeah.
And for me, it was just magic that that you can actually express yourself by puzzling together things that you filmed. And
with
you
the
can
cassettes.
Yes, with the cassettes.
And
you
the night
can
vision.
Yes, and the night vision,
Night vision.
actually pretty funny. And you can you have total control over the story and the interpretation of the footage, and that always fascinated me. And it doesn't matter what it is that fascinates you. If something fascinates you, then you do it. And the more you do it, the more confident you get, the more feedback you get, the more experience you get, and then in the end, everything is kind of easier. But I mean, I think it never ends.
No.
And it's always
never
like
ends.
A journey.
And software is always getting more interesting and new features and everything.
Yeah.
So the possibilities are sort of
Yeah.
exploding.
Yeah.
And now there's like free software from Blackmagic, DaVinci Resolve, which is a super professional editing software, and it's free.
Yeah.
So there's no limits nowadays.
Yeah. Yep. I totally agree. Will you be testing out the new... We actually thought about if we want to have this question in here or not, and I just will ask Vanessa about it. Will you be testing out the new Nordicom wide-angle converter port 2 lens? Also, what is your favorite focal length for shooting cold water or KWLs? Oh, that's not the one question that was like a little bit difficult. That's actually a very easy question. Okay, I think I can answer that.
Yeah, answered.
Okay.
Because,
Yes, we're going to test it, of course. The reason why we do that is because this one is focusing on air, so it's much better for split shots. And the favorite focal length is as wide as possible to shoot whales, of course. Cold water orcas, the environment always is challenging in a lot of different ways. One is there's always not enough light because it's up north and the daylight is very limited. And also the visibility is not great. And to be able to capture appealing shots in that environment, given that you have the luck and the chance to actually see them and get close to them, you have to be as close as possible, because the less water between you and the subject that you're filming, the better the picture quality is in the end. So wide is the magic word, I would say.
And close.
Wide and close, yes. That's the one for you, Vanessa. Do you prefer to use a curved look of a fisheye lens or a wide angle rectilinear lens, and why?
I only prefer the fisheye look if I shoot like macro fisheye. So like the Olympus 8mm is a macro fisheye, and it has like a working distance or focal distance of 1.5 centimeters. And that's the only time when I would really like to have the subject as big as I can and then have the whole reef in the background. That's when I sort of like the fisheye look. But other than that, I would actually choose the rectilinear look because it just looks more, well, filmic, cinematic. It doesn't look so GoPro style. Mm-hmm. So for me, definitely it's the rectilinear look.
Okay. I think it's different in photography, but we're both not photography guys, so might be a different answer. Antarctica, why on earth didn't you snorkel in dry suits rather than wetsuits? It must have been almost dangerously cold. I think that's a pretty easy answer. It's actually not colder than a dry suit. It just depends what kind of gear you have. If you have a warm fitting, maybe even open cell freediving suit, it has double layer on the upper body. You have like a long john pant and then another top part on it. And if it's, for example, like 9 millimeters thick, then you have 1.8 centimeter around the torso, which is great. If it really fits and no water gets in, it's fine. I think you have the same problems like in the dry suit, that the feet and the hands can get cold very easily. So you really have to figure out to have the right fin size, that bigger socks or maybe even two socks on top of each other can fit into that. And the main reason also to do that is because you're way more flexible. Like when you want to freediving on with a dry suit is not working well.
Yeah.
And so it was not even a question to use dry suits. And it's also very interesting how the body responds. Like when you go in the water and it's -1 degree water, and then all of a sudden all the blood goes in your head and your lips get bigger, and it's very painful in the beginning for like 30 seconds, and then everything like responds and adapts. And I think it's also a good thing, because to keep this kind of reflexes going is also making you, feeling good. Okay, last one for today. How did you illuminate the ice blocks in the first scene of the video Diving Antarctica? That looked insane. Pasted a picture in here. Well, this is basically two things. First thing, this picture is upside down. So it's actually not the ice coming out of the water, but it's the underpart of the little ice, crushed ice on the surface. So if you turn that upside down, you will have the light from above coming, in this case then reversed, from below, and it looks like dreamlike. So this is actually not a very elaborated lighting setup, even though there is a little bit of light coming from the camera to light it up a little bit more, but all of that is basically a natural light scenario. So if you turn it around, you will see it actually looks like the icy surface from below. Yeah, you can do that because it looks nice. Okay, cool. So we are looking very much forward to talk to Julie in half an hour. For now, we're good.
Yeah.
It's exciting. Everybody's still pretty healthy. Nobody got heavy
sick.
cold.
Yes. Everybody
not
is
too much
sick. So
party or anything. We really enjoyed yesterday. There were a lot of people and a lot of responses. So today, follow us, share and comment, tell your friend, and come by. And it was really amazing because I think Alex Mustard spent really a lot of time to actually answer all the questions in his videos, comments. I think that's really cool. Thank you, Alex, for that. That's amazing, and I hope we can continue like this today. Good. So see you in half an hour with Julie Gauthier. We good?